What happens to your body when you quit coffee for about 30 days? Most people think coffee gives them energy, but it doesn't, at least not in the way they imagine. Caffeine doesn't create new energy inside you, it simply changes what your brain is allowed to feel. Inside the brain, there's a molecule called adenosine that builds up throughout the day as you spend energy. Think of adenosine like sleep pressure. The more it accumulates, the more your brain receives the message that it's time to slow down, get sleepy, and eventually fall asleep. Adenosine is one of the key reasons you feel tired at night, and it's deeply tied to your sleep system and the body's ability to transition into recovery. Caffeine, however, looks chemically similar enough to adenosine that it can sit in the same receptors like a fake key. It blocks the signal, so you don't suddenly gain real energy, you just become less aware of the fatigue you've already earned. That's why coffee can feel like a superpower, not because you're charged up, but because your fatigue alarm has been muted. The problem is, the brain adapts. If you drink coffee over and over, your nervous system starts treating caffeine as part of the normal daily environment, and the same amount stops producing the same effect. You gradually need more to get the same "I'm awake" feeling, and eventually you're not drinking coffee because it feels incredible. You're drinking it because without it you feel off. So when you quit, there's a withdrawal period while your receptors and reward pathways recalibrate, and the first month can feel like a little journey through your own biology. In the first day or two, many people feel okay at first, and then within 12 to 24 hours, they start noticing symptoms, often a headache, heaviness behind the eyes, or a dull pressure that seems to sit on the forehead. Part of this is because caffeine affects blood vessel tone and signaling, and when it disappears, the brain has to adjust. You can also feel emotionally flat, like your usual spark isn't there because caffeine nudges your reward chemistry and your sense of go. Day 3 through 5 is often the peak of the annoying phase. You may feel irritable, sluggish, foggy, and strangely hungry. Even if the direct craving for coffee starts to fade a little, your brain may try to replace that stimulation by craving sugar, fatty foods, or anything that gives a quick hit of comfort. This is the reward system doing what it does. When a familiar source of pleasure and alertness is removed, it sends you hunting for substitutes. It's not you being weak, it's your brain rebalancing. Around day 6 and 7, something important starts to happen. Sleep begins to improve. Because caffeine is no longer blocking adenosine receptors, the natural sleep pressure can build and do its job. Many people fall asleep easier, wake up less, and start having more vivid dreams, often a sign that REM sleep is returning more strongly. You may feel less wired but tired at night, and your stress chemistry can begin to settle. This is also where the ritual becomes the real battlefield, because a lot of people don't just miss caffeine, they miss the warm cup, the morning pause, the signal that the day has begun. That's why replacing the ritual matters. Herbal tea, decaf, hot water with lemon, anything that keeps the comfort of the habit while your chemistry resets. From day 8 to 10, mood often starts leveling out. Instead of the day being a roller coaster of stimulation and crashes, your energy becomes smoother, more stable, less dramatic. You may still want coffee psychologically, but the feeling of "I can't function without it" starts weakening. Between day 11 and 14, the fog lifts further. Caffeine can make you feel alert, but alertness isn't the same thing as better memory, better focus, or better decision making. Sometimes caffeine just turns the volume up. Everything feels louder, faster, more urgent, but not necessarily clearer. When you remove it and your sleep quality improves, the brain starts doing the real work again, consolidating memory, restoring attention, regulating emotions. You may notice fewer "where did I put my phone" moments, clearer mornings, and calmer concentration. Around day 15 to 21, the addiction loop begins to break. Receptor sensitivity moves closer to baseline, cravings lose their grip, and the urge shifts from "I need this" to "I could have it, but I don't have to." This is where a lot of people get an unexpected insight. Coffee wasn't just giving them a boost, it was covering something up. Maybe the real issue was chronic sleep debt, burnout, dehydration, poor nutrition, or stress, and coffee was acting like a mask that made those problems feel manageable until the mask wore off. By day 22 through 30, the payoff becomes noticeable in a deeper way. You start experiencing more real energy, not a spike borrowed from tomorrow, but a steadier baseline that comes from better recovery. Afternoon crashes often soften. Sleep becomes more consistent, mood is calmer, appetite can feel more stable. You realize something that sounds almost too simple. Sleep is where energy is produced, and anything that quietly disrupts sleep, especially something that can linger in the system for hours, can steal energy at the source. That's why quitting coffee can feel like getting your batteries back, not because coffee was evil, but because you finally stop muting fatigue and start resolving it. In plants, caffeine exists as a defense chemical. In humans, it acts like a stress signal, a small hormetic push. In the right dose, for some people, that can be fine. But if you're using caffeine as a replacement for sleep, light, movement, hydration, and nutrients, the bill eventually arrives, often as anxiety, insomnia, dependence, and and unpredictable energy. If you want to quit without suffering unnecessarily, step down if you're a heavy user. Strong coffee to weaker coffee, then green tea, then half-calf, then herbal teas. Preserve the hot cup ritual so your brain doesn't feel like it lost a daily anchor. Hydrate early and consider electrolytes, because a surprising amount of I need coffee is really dehydration and low minerals. Get morning light in your eyes to flip your circadian switch on. Move for 5 to 10 minutes to signal wakefulness naturally. And if you need calm while your system adapts, calming non-caffeinated habits like evening magnesium or soothing herbal teas can support the transition, with common sense caution if you have medical conditions or take medications. The point of a 30-day break isn't to prove coffee is bad. It's to let you feel your real baseline without a daily stimulant shaping your sleep, mood, and nervous system. The first week can be annoying, the second week gets interesting, the third week starts feeling freeing, and by the fourth week, many people realize they weren't addicted to coffee itself. They were addicted to escaping fatigue. And once your body starts recovering properly, you don't need an escape. You need a system that actually works.